to come over here. Is this my presentation? Hold on. Nope. Give me a second, people. I may have gone a bridge too far today. We'll see. All right. All right, now let's see if I can get back to the world here. Okay, I think I'm here. Can you guys see the unofficial history lesson by Dave Gagnon?
Yep, we sure can, Dave.
All right, well, fantastic. Let's see here. I have shared the notes with you guys. Hopefully someone can jump in there and add notes for today's meeting. If you do, I'm grateful. If not, there will be no notes. So let me just grab that so no one has any excuses here. I'm going to grab this copy and I'm going to add it into in there, so you guys got the link to that document in that little map in the right hand corner. Donovan, did I know that you can now remove your name over your head in that little map in the right hand corner? I did not know that, and I don't.
Up in the little gearbox, yeah. If you click on the little gearbox in the upper right corner and click on preferences, you don't have to see your own name over your head anymore. Everybody else will still see it, but it'll be out of your way so you can see everybody else's names.
And we do that under preferences?
Yeah, click on the little gearbox in the far upper right corner. Looks like the little Swiss watch gears. And then under preferences, if you select the preferences link, you'll see the second one down says show your username. You can actually remove that so you don't see it, but everybody else will still see it.
Oh, gotcha.
They just added that.
And I don't have to see the mini map. Okay, fantastic.
You don't have to hear clump, 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 clump when avatars walk by either.
Fantastic. All right, well, thanks for sharing that, Donovan. And let's see. Okay, so before I officially, let me just make sure that this is, let me make sure the magic is happening here. Let's see. Okay, looks like the magic's happening. Okay. All right, so before I get started, let me just open it up for you guys to give me any topics that you want to make sure is included in today's meeting before I get into my pre-planned presentation. Thanks for letting me know that, Chuck. All right. Let me get right into what I prepared today, and hopefully you guys find this enjoyable. So this is an unofficial history lesson of EXP, and so for me, visioning is an important part of my personal motivation, right? If it was just about money or you know, establishing some wealth or those kind of things, you know, it's easy just to say, okay, I'm at a good spot, take your foot off the pedal, you know, that kind of stuff. And so visioning to create something substantial is an important motivation for me. And so I have been doing this on the yellow pad and all that stuff, and that's hard to share. So I tried to put this into an unofficial presentation for you guys today, just to kind of share with you how my brain thinks and you know, where I am, where I'm going, and hopefully this inspires you to do the same kind of thing where you are in your business, even if your entire business unit is you and one really good person that you believe in. And so I'm just going to walk you through this, and I'll open it up for Q&A at the end. And I will apologize up front I know all the numbers aren't perfect. I pulled all this together in a slide deck format this morning, and so if I don't have your number 100% right, or if I skipped over you or someone that you love, no malice was intended. Just trying to get this put together. So thank you in advance for your understanding and forgiveness. So let me jump into this. So I think understanding the past can help you envision the future, and I think having a vision is a very important thing. One of my favorite quotes is, "Without vision, the people will perish." And I've always thought that of myself, and I think that's part of being a good leader. And so I went back and took a look. So when I got here last year, or excuse me, 4 years ago, EXP had 272 agents. And so I just went back and I took a look, and of those 272 agents, 116 of them are still here today, right? And so back then, I think our selection of agents was less defined and less targeted than it is today. I know there were people who answered Craigslist ads, and the vetting of them as an agent really wasn't very strong. We were happy to have one more agent who fit into the culture, and I think today all of us have much more scrutiny when we're sponsoring someone into the company than we did 4 years ago. But so I took those 116 people that we still have today that were of that 272, and I wanted to look at how that affected our growth. And so again, going back to 2013 when I got here, we had 272 agents. At the end of 2014, we had 464. 2015 was 865. Last year, we ended at 2401. Today, we're over 3,400. As of this morning, 3,445 is the official count. And I put a conservative number in here, 5,020. That is the unofficial projection by Dave. This has nothing to do with any projection of the company or anything. It really does not take any forecasted expansive growth. It only looked at the amount of people we've added so far today net. And I just projected that flat growth from what we're currently doing. So I think this is a very conservative number, and I wanted to be as conservative as I could in my thought process, because it's very easy to get crazy and wild in where you think things are going to go. And if your thought process is bigger than you can believe, then your brain can chalk it up to fantasy, and you could act in a manner where it doesn't inspire you. And so when I go through this kind of exercise, and the reason why I'm sharing it with you guys is I want you to go through the same exercise and get to a point where it's a number that you seriously buy into. Because if you can't buy into it, if you can't believe it, then you can't execute on it. That's just me. And so so I pulled frontline direct agents for the top people in the company. And again, this is from a snapshot of 4 years ago, and looking at the agents that are still here. So someone might have had more frontline at the time, but the system would only let me look at the people that are still here. So just take it with that as a filter, especially if any of you guys are in the room and you say, hey, I was here back then and I know I had more people. That's just the parameters that I have to work in. So our number one frontline attractologist in this snapshot was Jeff Rose. He was the only one in the company that was 10 wide. And then I added some people on here that some of you know and love, and some of you are here in the room. But Brian was 6 wide. Dale was 5 wide. I was only 1 wide. I had just joined the month before. Patrick Keeler joined me right away, and I was 1 wide. Pat, thank you, Pat, for following me. Dave Harbour was 2. Guy Allen was 4. Jason was 6. Jim Gerard, 2. John Tanny, 3. Mike Houston, 3. Mick, 2. Suzanne, 3. Tom Somerville, 3. The 5th had 2. Joe had 3, and Marianne had 4. And so that was the core group that was building the company at the time. And so for some of you in the room, you already have a group that's growing, and you have people that are doing these kind of numbers, right? And so I think that's an important thing, right? Just to understand that you don't get to 3,500 people, without some help, right? So some people have got to be doing some stuff, but not everyone is able to post great numbers in a short period of time. And some people on this list, like me, I had only been here 1 month. I have 1, right? That doesn't mean I'm bad. I wasn't here a long time. I know Guy Allen hadn't been here a long time at that point in time, right? But just to add some perspective to that. And so the other thing that I looked at is, this is through the close of business yesterday. And so what's the health of the company today? And so I took our best frontline guy 4 years ago, who was Jeff Rose, and he had 10. And I said, okay, well, here we are 4 years later. And so that was in our first 4 years, right? So our first 4 years, Jeff was number 1 with 4. Here we are 4 years later. Who's doing at least as well as our best person 4 years ago? And again, I'm going to apologize. I would not certify that all of these numbers are 100% right. I counted quickly. Forgive me if I'm off by a couple, and please forgive me if I missed you. But so Alfonso, I haven't even talked to Alfonso. He already has 10 frontline. Brent Gove, he's been here 6 months. He's got 37. Brent Walgreen, 16. And the stars mean that they weren't on the previous list. Right, so weren't even here 4 years ago. Brian is now 19 wide. Cheryl, 11. Chris Lefebvre, 11. Chuck Keller, 22. Dale is now 15. Darren James came over, I think, a year and a half ago, 17. Daryl Baskin, 17. Me, I was on the previous slide, 1, now 20. David Harbour, 18. Debbie wasn't even with us, 12. Donovan, now 11. Elizabeth, 18. Emily, 12. Eric Birch, 12. Gary, 13. Gene, 21. Right? Gene's only been here 24 months. Ian wasn't even here in that original poll. He was looking at moving his independent brokerage over. Now he's 31. Jason, 16. Jeff Rose, who is on the list with 10, he's now 18. Jeffrey Hannon, 11. Rob Flick, 28. He's only been here, I think, 14 months. Jim Gerard now has 18. Joe Schumerth with 13. Juan wasn't here then, 12. Kenneth Trahan, 11. Carrie Lucas wasn't here then. Now she's 30 wide. Crystal, 10. Marguerite, 20. Marcy Willems, 27. Matt, 17. Micah, 11. Mike Houston now at 12. Michelle, 20. Miguel Herrera has only been here since last convention in October. He's already 17 wide. Mike, 12. Milton, 10. Mitch just joined us yesterday officially in Cocoa Beach. Came over. Not all his agents have been processed in yet. We don't have them all in there yet. But he has 11 wide there. And Pat Bertrand is his manager, his office manager, and he put 14 under her. So really 25, and one day, right? Nicole, 14. Pat Hayes, 25. Pat LaMonica, 10. Ralph with 12. Danny with 10. Randy Rand is now at 15. He wasn't on the list before. Ray, who's only been with us for about a year, I think, maybe a little bit more, 10. Ricky Tucker opened up Louisiana for us, 20. Robin with 10. Rod Obie with 12. Steve and Sally brought their Remax brokerage over, 19 direct. Sarah with 10. Scott Lewis, recruiting machine, with 13. I'll skip ahead to Tracy, 33 there. Combined 56 frontline between the two of them. Sean, 13. Sheila Dunnigan, 12. Sheila, 14. Sherry Elliott, 20. Terry, who's only been here a short period of time, is already in the double digits. Tony, 10. Wilco with 23. And Willie with 13. That is substantial, right? If you look at the original roster that we had 4 years ago, helping us grow a company that became 3,400, what do you think is going to happen in the next 4 years? Right? If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what does, right? But that was an important exercise for me. And then, for me, thinking like a leader means that you have got to be able to share a vision which is large enough to fit others' dreams, right? If my vision was, to make $100,000 a year, and I'm talking to someone who, has a vision of making $500,000 a year, why would they follow me? If that's as big as I can think, why would they follow, right? And I'm not saying just throw a number out there. I mean, you have got to be able to see it. You've got to have a plan, and their success has got to be able to fit in your plan. And so I pulled my numbers at the end of the day yesterday, and my little revenue share group is at 272 people. And it struck me, that's exactly the size of the company when I got here 4 years ago. Right? And so it compelled me to want to do this walkthrough. And so, what are my chances of being able to grow a sizable group like the company has done, right, in the next 4 years? And so I started thinking, and it's like, I think I have stronger leaders in my group today than the company had as a whole 4 years ago. And that's not to put anyone down, right? It's just what has someone been able to do to grow, right? And but there's a reason for that, right? Now we have so much more. Now we're a public company. Back then we talked about wanting to be a public company, but we weren't. We talked about being able to do stock incentives, but we weren't. We didn't have a mechanic for that. We had a vision for it. We have great leadership. We made it happen, but we didn't have it then, right? We now have more staff than we did 4 years ago. 4 years ago, on a Monday morning, it would be Jason and Pam and Lori, Gabe, Jody, and me. And we'd say, okay, where are we stuck? Where do we need to focus? What needs work? And we would plan out the week. We would dole out, Dave, you need to get this done. Jason needs to get that done. Gabe needs to do 100 things. And on Friday, most of it would be done. When we meet the next Monday, we'd do it again. We had more than that worked at the company, but that was the entire leadership crew. What do we have for a leadership crew now? Oh my goodness. I got to meet Scott, our senior tech guy. Great guy, brilliant guy. His vision, I love his vision. He gets it. He gets the agent mentality. He gets, what we need. The stuff that we're going to get out of Scott, unbelievable. I got to have dinner with Mitch Robinson, our marketing guy. He gets it. Love the guy. He had been here 12 days, stood up in front of a group of about 70 people at Mitch's meeting a few weeks ago. and did a little presentation on everything EXP that he's learned in 12 days, right? And great job, right? He gets it. He understands what we need to get to the next level. So much better. The stuff that Russ has been able to do, the stuff that Jason and Vicky have been able to do to focus on growth now, and all the Kiwa. Oh my goodness. The ability to have someone now pulling together the entire agent experience, not just each department head, is huge for us, right? So what we have for support mechanics as a company is phenomenal compared to what we had 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, we were fantastic. We were the best 272 agent company we had. But when I look at my little company today, what I have supporting me is world class, right? Really second to none. We have people succeeding as a tractologist, as agents, and team leaders. We have these awesome stories to tell, right? We have industry validation, whether it's articles in Inman, articles in Realtor.com, the Real Trends Report articles and rankings, the Power Broker report that just came out last month. The fact that we're now the 11th largest brokerage in the United States. So many powerful things to talk about that we didn't have back then, right? The addition of Conversion and Sync and the other tech platforms that we have. We didn't have that back then. You know what we had back then? Gabe and his team, Gabe and Kirk and Eddie, would launch a WordPress site. That was the entire value proposition. And we taught search engine optimization. And we had wonderful strategies for all these tactics using WordPress sites. But the agent would have to tie into an IDX, right? And all those kind of things. What we have today, light years ahead of what we had. We still have people joining today because they're paying $500 a month to Conversion. And once they're done that contract, they can come here and get the same platform for free. We've added Brad Anderson as the Director of Education. In the old days, we had to strategize on what we were going to do for training that week. And it was always a scramble to find, someone to contribute. Today, we have a full-time, dedicated professional who brings the best in the industry in here every single week. I don't have to think about that. You don't have to think about that. It's automatic. And I'm telling you, the people that we have in here today and the quantity and quality that we have today is something to be hugely proud of. Right? Our platform. I didn't think to throw a slide in here, but our old platform, our office, I almost didn't join because our office was so cumbersome and needed so much resources. It wouldn't run on my laptop. And back then, the company's attitude was, if you can't come into the cloud office, you can't join. And I wasn't going to go buy a new laptop just to come check it out. So that's why I met face-to-face with Jason at a coffee shop. So he could show me what I was going to be able to leverage. And I got to tell you, it was stick figures sliding across the floor, going through walls with a square head. It was very hinky. But I got to meet Jason, right? We're a people business. We just leverage technology. But what we have today, sharing screens like this, it's world class. Where will we be in 4 years? Much easier to get people into the cloud here. The addition of our coaching platform. We've brought over someone who's in charge of building out our coaching platform, and we'll have that by the end of this year. Gives us the ability to talk to great people like Hank Avink, Debbie Renna Hines, and so many others, that Valerie Easter, so many people who coach others to be able to come and have a coaching platform is phenomenal. We have the Agent Advisory Council that we just officially announced a couple weeks ago, right? So 12 of our own agents have direct feedback into the board. 2 of them will be sitting on the board of directors. There's no other real estate company that I know of that has any agents on their board. We didn't have that back then. We didn't even have a board back then. Well, I guess we did. But we've been attracting brokerages, right? Beyond 4 years ago, we had some fantastic people join, like Tom Somerville, brought over his RE/MAX office, and that was a rare thing. Now it's much more commonplace, right? Ian came over with 17. Willie came over, I think, 40. You can fact check me, Willie. Mitch Rybeck just came over Cocoa Beach yesterday with 50 plus. Darren James came over with 20. Stephen Sally came over with 20. I'm happy to update this with any stats that you guys share with me. Just email me anything that I can add to the slide deck, and I'll share the slide deck with you later. We've been able to attract some highly successful teams. And so in the old days, if you were talking to someone that had a team, and they'd be like, well, how do teams work there? And it's like, well, we really don't have a policy. We'll develop a policy. And they'd say, well, who else do you have operating a high-level team there? And they were very few and far between. I think Jeff Rose had the biggest team back then. Now we have Marcy Willems. They do over 600 deals a year. Brent Gove, 250 plus deals a year. Darren James, over 200. Debbie Renna Hines, about 175. Sonny, his group does 100 plus. Jeff and Amanda, 100 plus. And I know there's dozens of others that I just couldn't think of fast enough to put on here today. But again, if you want to share that stuff with me, I'll add it to the slide. And we have successful attraction in all areas, right? So independent brokerages like Willie Ip and Ian Marshall and Mitch Rybeck and Darren James. Former KW owners like me and Gene Frederick. Gene owned 6. I had small ownership in 1. And I know we have dozens of people here that are former KW owners. If you know of any, send them to me, and I'll just add them in here. Former RE/MAX owners like Andy Armada and Anna Festa, Tom Somerville, Stephen Sally Koss, and again, others, share them with me. Former exit owners, and I was trying to rack my brain, and I just couldn't remember the names of them, but we'll add them in here. Former KW team leaders like Nicole Charles and Gene Frederick and me and Susie Truex and Jeff Richmond, and I think we have like 40 ex-KW team leaders here. Marianne, would you email me? I won't be able to pull up the text chat, but if you've owned a Realty One or anything else, please email me, Voxer me, or text me, and I'll update this slide. I want to be able to share it with you. And so why did I go through this whole exercise, right? So I have a group. 272 people, the same size that the entire company was 4 years ago. And so to have a vision, I wanted to compare what does my group look like today compared to what did we look like 4 years ago as a company. I started looking at this, and Alex is already 7 wide. Andy has only been here a month and a half or 2, maybe 2 months. He's already 7 wide. I spoke with him yesterday. He's been a recruiter of real estate agents for years. He has a fantastic track record. He said, Dave, I'm looking at my whiteboard right now, and I tell you, never in the history of my life has a whiteboard been so full of talent as what I have right now, and I believe they're all coming by the end of the year, right? Chris Hyland is 3 wide. Chuck and Doug are 22 wide. Dale is 7 wide. David is 7 wide. Debbie is 12 wide. She's been here like 6 months. Howard is now 8 wide. Jeannie is 8. Jeff Richmond is 6. He's been here less than a year. Josh Hill, less than a year. He's at 6. Justin has been here a few months, 3 wide. Kendra's 5 wide. Lori's 4. Mitch, I just added the 11 wide under him and the 17 that he's put under Pat, 28 wide. Stephen Sally, 19. Sonny, 8. Susan, who's only been here a month, 3. Susie Truax has been here about a month, 3. Valerie's been here a few months, 6. So you know, if I take these two, right, and say, well, this is what we had as a company, and this is what I have today in my company, in the company, is it possible, do you think, that the vision that I can have, we should be able to go from 272 to 500 in a year? Should we then be able to go to 1,000 in 2 years? Over 2,400 in a year? Should we be able to get to 5,000 in 4 years? And as quite frankly, as I look at this and the background that these people have, the amount of time that they've been here, I believe that this group can be closer to 15,000 4 years from now, because we have so much more credibility, because we have so much more support, because we have so much more technology, because our value proposition is so much higher. When I got my first stock award, 1,000 shares, I think we were trading at 19 cents at the time. So when I was bragging that I got 1,000 shares, the people that I was talking to were laughing at me. They're like, Dave, it's a penny stock. It's worth nothing. It'll never be worth nothing. It's a $190 bonus. You're an idiot. Now, we're trading at 350, 360, something like that. I don't even look at that number. I look at where we're going. What will it be worth when we have 5,000 agents, 10,000 agents, 20,000 agents? What will it be worth when we add core services to our offerings? $3 is nothing, right? And so to have the track records that we have, I feel so confident that my little group of 272 in 4 years can be so much bigger than the entire company is today after 4 years, right? And the reason is, when I look at the people who are getting it done in my group, and there's a bunch of names on here of people who have joined recently that just haven't had enough time to get their people in the systems yet, right? Where they are, right? Remember, 4 years ago, I was one. So if I can get to 272 in 4 years, what can these guys do? Crazy, right? And so when I talk to my leaders, I want to know where they want to be. And so you got to look at your business. Everyone here in this room has at least 5 direct. That's what got you invited into this room. And so each and every one of you have a group, have a team. The most important leader is you. What's your vision? And if your vision isn't large enough that there's huge success for your people, you need to change your vision. Borrow someone else's. Borrow someone else's success. Mitch has been here one day, and we'll feature Mitch in an upcoming interview. I want him to get in and get acclimated and all that kind of stuff. But Mitch didn't come here to bring 50 agents. Mitch came here to build something substantial, right? And substantial starts at 1,000. When you can surround yourself with people like that, your world changes. And for me, I've always loved the story of, Ian. Ian came here as a small brokerage, came with some fantastic people like Carrie Lucas. She had a great friend in Elizabeth. Elizabeth and Jill talk to Gene. Gene comes over. Gene's 7 levels right now, I think, is at 1,100, 1,200, something like that. That's a game changer. That's a game changer in a lot of people's lives. But it's not all Gene, right? Rob Flick is a beast. He's a visionary. When he talks to people, he gets their heart going a little bit on how they can leverage an awesome opportunity to create something special for their family. And he finds people like Brent Gove, Scott and Tracy Lewis, and gives them a vision that's bigger than them. And they work hard. And you look at what they're doing for their people, right? That is creating vision. That's being a leader. You know, I consider Scott and Tracy to be dear friends. Do I think that they're going to build an organization of 10,000 or more in a short period of time? I do. Do I think Pat Hayes is going to do something incredible? I do. Do I think Brent Gove is doing something amazing? I do. Right? When I look at my little group, I know we got some great talent in there. And when I look at the history of the company and where we were and where the best attractologists joined us, some of them joined us 6 months ago. Some of them joined us a year ago. Some of them joined us 2 years ago. So the best people in your group aren't even here yet. The best people in my group aren't even here yet. And so they can be in all of the groups of folks that I have the opportunity to work with directly on my little RevShare team. Right? For me, this was all from one. I had Pat Keeler, just me. I had one direct. So 2 people in my group. So I hope that, if nothing else, hopefully I convinced you that I am highly confident in my business unit, and hopefully that inspires you. More importantly, I hope that going through the process with you like this gives you a little bit about how my mind works, and maybe over the next week or so, you can lay out your plan to grow your business large enough that there's room for huge success for the people who follow you. So that's it. That's all I really wanted to share today. I'll open it up for questions.
That was awesome, Dave. Thanks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, just in talking with Mitch, and when you when you're in business with people, you get to have conversations, right? And so when I talked to Andy Armada, I spoke to him yesterday, and I believe in my heart of hearts, Andy will be 1,000 people in his group. In a fairly short period of time, a year, maybe 2. The talent that he's bringing into the table is far greater than the talent that I brought to the table in my first 2 months. Right? When I talk with Chuck Keller, and there's a lot of people on this list that are in Chuck's team. Chuck just went over 100 people. Friday he hit 102. And he's been here 18 months. And Chuck is first and foremost a luxury sales agent with Doug, and they have a great team. And they've won the award with the company. I think it was at the last convention. They were the #1 GCI team in the company, so they do a lot of sales. But he's carved time to build an organization and develop leaders, right? So you look at his organization. He's got Dale, he's got David, he's got Debbie. Just looking through real quick. I think Justin's there, Kendra's there, Lori Perfett's there, Sonny's in that group, right? So do I think that Chuck is going to be 1,000 in a short period of time? I do. Do I think that Steve and Sally are going to be 1,000 in a short period of time? Yeah, they introduced Andy Armada, right? Not only are they doing a great job and doing great sales, but they're finding great talent who can bring in great talent. So, when you start going through your organization and saying, Mitch, I know Mitch will be 1,000 people in an incredibly short period of time. Mitch can tell a story in a different way. He can say, I had a brokerage of 70 people and I came over and these are the reasons. You have less than 70 people, you should listen to my story. Right? So he comes from a different position of credibility. Right? If you're a top agent, you can bring top agents. If you run a big team, you can bring other big teams. If you have run a brokerage, you can talk to people who have run brokerages. You can talk the same language. So, when I look forward a year or 2 or 3 or 5, I can see my group being 10, 15, 20,000. And I know that I can see that for friends that I have in the company. You have got to see whatever your vision is, starting from where you are today. If you're the best person on your team, be the best leader, lead by example, be engaged, be able to relate others' successes in a way that fits the vision of the person that you're talking to. Okay. So that's the end of my presentation. Thanks for letting me do that, and it wasn't intended to be braggadocious or anything like that. It was really meant to share with you openly how my brain works. So hopefully it was good for you guys. Let me open it up for the last 5 or 6 minutes here and just see if anyone has any comments or questions about anything having to do with growth. Thank you. All right, guys. Sure.
It's not a question. I just want to say I think it's just a matter of putting all this into your schedule as far as talking to people. And I mean, there's some days that I'm really tired of talking about it at the end of the day because I've talked to several, or that I'm actually hoarse. I see that quite a bit, and but I think that one thing is we just got to put it in our schedule and purposefully work toward it. I think also too that eventually the people we know will hear about it and will come to EXP. So we're here in the beginning and we need to take advantage of that. And then also too, when I look at these numbers and names and everything, I'm thinking, it's a numbers game. So of however many that you personally sponsor, then there's a percentage that is going on and actually doing something. And the great thing is it doesn't take that many to provide a good income. But thank you for putting this together because it's very inspiring, and I think we should all double our numbers within the next 12 months, if not 6.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears. For me, it is about focus, and it's easy to get off focus. One of the things that I hear most commonly is the negatives, and the negatives can come in a lot of different ways. I spoke with someone and they shot me down hard, and I got to tell you, I am probably as good as a presenter as anybody in the room, right? And I can have the same approach with the person I talk to at 9 o'clock in the morning and the person that I talk to at 10 o'clock in the morning. And one of them will be hanging on my every word. And every time I tell them about another value proposition, they find it unbelievable and they want to know more. They can't wait to watch the video, and they want to book an hour with me for next week. The next person I talk to thinks it sounds stupid. Why would they ever leave their brokerage? Right? And they shut me down hard. Well, I did not change my approach. I did not change my attitude. They weren't the right person for me to be talking to on that day. The other negative that can creep into your life is you do attract someone. They say all the right things. They do all the right things, and then something happens and they leave, right? And maybe it's because they didn't, come into orientation, right? They didn't, get acclimated into the company. It might be that the company did something to upset them, right? Maybe we messed up a payment and they were intolerant on that. And there should never be a mess up on it, but it happens. We're still in growth mode. We're still in development mode. We're still hiring great people, adding great systems in place, but maybe it's not a good fit for them at this point in their patience and tolerance ability, right? But if you look at them and they're your best person and they leave, that could be devastating. It might not work for me. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to share the number with you guys earlier in the presentation, where we had 272 people in the company in April 4 years ago, but there's only 115 of those 272 that are still here today, right? People left for whatever reason. Maybe we attracted the wrong type of person. Maybe they had little tolerance or little patience for a startup company. Maybe we didn't develop stuff fast enough to give them what they needed. Whatever it is, right? A lot of people left from that group. Some of the people that you have today won't be here tomorrow. But having a vision to be able to deliver for your people, to be a good leader. I tell everyone in my group, if you have a great upline, go to them. They will help you grow. But if they're not available, or if it's a topic that they're not comfortable with, book them on my calendar. I want to help everyone in my group grow. I don't care if they're at level 6 or 7, or even 8. If I bring in someone level 8, it's locking in someone at level 7. Right? I look at it as though it's my business, my company in the company. I get stock for building it. I can drive the stock price up by building it. I can build my revenue share by building it. I can be a strong leader. I know I can be better, but Lord knows I try every day. Right? And so I think for everyone, determine what business you want to build. Have a business plan and stick to it. And part of that is having time every week or every day, time blocking for it. Don't let other things creep in. Don't let the negatives get you down. Stay on track. Stay plugged in with other people that are having success. Learn from them. Share your successes. And there's no reason why, in my humble opinion, that you should not be able to go from 1 to 272 people in 4 years. And for those of you that are full-time real estate agents, I was a full-time staff member of EXP Realty for my first 3 years. I was not able to really spend any time growing my group until April of last year. Right? So I really went from 25 to 272 in 13 months. So a year ago, 1, today 272. If everyone here in this room does it, I think we have 138 people in the expansion group. Only 28 came in today, right? And so the opportunity is for those who can tap in and embrace it. So 138 people invited to the session, 28 are here. You guys got something they didn't today. What are you going to do with it? So that's my challenge. Let's grow. Thanks for coming in, and I hope you found this hour to be valuable. Talk with you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.